currently viewing this video. The most typical retirement plans that you guys will come into contact with are, and you've seen these before, are either a 401k or a 403b. Just understand that a 401k, you would be offered a 401k if the entity, the business entity that basically handles your plans is a private institution. Now, if it's a public institution, you're going to be offered a 403b. So for tax purposes, it's taxed exactly the same way. Now, we're using a hypothetical, these are qualified retirement plans, the 401k and the 403b. All that means is that it's a qualified retirement plan through the IRS, meaning that it's treated a special way by the IRS. These plans are pre-tax, meaning that you are, for any contribution that you're making into these plans, you're receiving a tax deduction. And what I mean by that is, in our example, we're going to use a hypothetical situation that you're making exactly $100,000 a year. If you contribute 5% into your retirement plan, that would be $5,000. At the end of the year, you're taxed as if you only made $95,000. Even though you made the $100,000, you used $5,000 of it to put towards retirement. So because you used that, they're now reducing your taxes at the end of the year as if you've only made $95,000. So you're not making the $100,000, getting taxed and throwing it in there, and then getting taxed at a later date. So what happened to that 5% contribution, that $5,000? You invested it into a retirement plan through your employer. So your retirement options are typically mutual funds. You might see something that might say aggressive, it might say moderate, it might say conservative, it might be a fixed account. There's typically about 5 to 15 different funds that we've come into contact with. They're not going to have 300 different funds in there, because the more funds that are in there, the more it costs the company. So they want to say, you know what, we're going to offer you a retirement plan, but you're going to have some limited funds. These are the options that you have. So your $5,000 went into the retirement plan, and this is mainly invested in mutual funds. So every year that you're accumulating money, that you're placing into these plans, you're betting that the market's going to be favorable, that your investments are going to be favorable, and the more that you put towards savings is going to accumulate in a bucket. Now, every year that you're getting a gain, you're not getting taxed on that. It's called tax deferred growth. So you got to kind of think of a bucket with a lid over it. When you're ready to start taking distributions, that lid's going to come off, and Uncle Sam, hence the IRS, they're going to have full access to your taxes. You're going to be fully taxable. It's going to be fully taxable when you retire. That's why it is treated the special way by the IRS. The IRS says, okay, we'll allow these plans, we'll allow for your tax deduction, but you have to understand, if it's something controlled by the IRS, they're going to try to get their taxes any which way. So we start to look at tax charts. And you say, okay, well, how do I know if that's a good idea or a bad idea? So you look at historical tax charts, and you realize that for the later generation, the earlier generation, there was tax brackets used to be at all-time highs. Meaning that while you're accumulating into these plans, you're getting that tax deduction, you're making out on the deal, because if they're at all-time highs, what happens? The tax brackets dropped to all-time lows. Meaning that you were getting the tax deferred growth, you weren't getting taxed every year that was making you money, but then at the end, you're pulling this money out while it's fully taxable at your tax bracket. You're pulling the money out, and it's going to be at a lower rate. So you were basically double dipping on the plan. You were making double the progress. Unfortunately, based on the historical tax charts, the younger generation is going to be a lot more hindered towards their accounts, because they are now at all-time lows. We understand there's different governmental debt, there's different debt out there. So how exactly are they going to be able to get that money back? They're going to tax us, they're going to raise taxes. Just the inevitable. So these are the tax charts throughout the history. Now, can you just leave your money in there and say, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to use it? No. Because it's monitored through the IRS, they have very strict rules. You have something called a 59.5 rule. What that means is you can only touch this money at age 59 and a half. You can't put money in and then say, okay, well, I had a good gain, let me just take the money out. If you are not 59 and a half, let's say you're age 52 and something happened and you need this money, you either lost your job or something happened throughout your life, and you say, okay, I have about 300,000 in there, all I need is 100. So you say, all right, give me my $100,000. You take 100 grand. They're going to tax you with they're going to hit you with a 10% penalty to the IRS, plus whatever your tax bracket is. Let's say it's a hypothetical 30% tax bracket at the time. That means 40%, $40,000 is going to go to Uncle Sam, and you'll be able to keep 60 of it. So a lot of people do not like that. And they say, okay, well, I understand that, but what happens if I don't want to touch this money? If I just, I understand I did better with different investments, I did some other savings vehicles, I just want to leave it on the sidelines. Mr. IRS has, Mr. Uncle Sam, he has another rule called 70 and a half, RMD, required minimum distribution. This states at age 70 and a half, you need to start taking some sort of distributions. At age 71, let's say it's 2.5%. At age 72, let's say it's 3.1%. So it's going to increase every single year because they're not just going to let you have your tax deduction and let you be done with it. They need to get their money back somehow.